True abundance is not found in your bank account, it's found in your relationships and your resilience. If you're a business owner feeling successful but unfulfilled, this conversation will show you how to build a legacy that actually lasts. Welcome back to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Dahya. I'm really looking forward to this conversation today. We are exploring what it means to live a life of true abundance, not just in terms of money, but in leadership, connection, and purpose. Our guest today has lived through challenges of early special education to become a force in the financial and philanthropy world. And he is here to share how we can all rewrite our own futures. Chad Coe is the CEO and president of Coe Financial Group, an author, speaker, and master auctioneer who has dedicated his life in the art of connection. His journey is one of remarkable resilience, beginning in a special education as a child and evolving into a career helping executives and business owners build financial clarity and stronger futures. Chad is the author of several books, including The Power of Peopleizing and The Confident Leader, where he explores how to lead with a raw passion and radical authenticity. Beyond the balance sheets, he is a master connector who has helped raise millions of dollars for charity through his work as an auctioneer. He believes that true abundance is found in the intersection of clear goals, deep relationships, and a heart of service. Chad, it's great to have you on the Champion Mindset Collective podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm looking forward to being here and a very fun, interactive interview and sharing.
100%. Absolutely. I'd love to explore your early years because you've mentioned in your time as an education, especially, how it really shaped you. So how did those experiences build the resilience that you carry today?
We talk about my past because I have a future and it looks like what I've done is easy. But what I've had to do is to really grind and really pursue goals and dreams that I might have had. And it starts with just special ed, right? A lot of people were in special ed or their kids are in special ed. And in one of my classrooms in particular, when I was in third grade, was a classroom, they called it an institution. It was Grove School, Lake Forest, where it was 3 kids, a teacher, a cattle prod, padded walls, no desks. And so what I talk about is, as I was going into 4th grade, I broke my femur in half, but 4th grade was my first classroom of remedial, not special ed. And so however I was diagnosed and whatever it looked like many, many years ago, that was the situation that I was in. And I remember going for testing because I had ADD and stuff, to University of Chicago Hospital and do the different things to find out why I had a temper and whatever else I had. But I learned that I was always happy. I always wanted to be able to give back. I always wanted to share what I had, even though at the time it wasn't very much. It was just what most people saw as a poor attitude. I got through school, remedial, and the path led me to be able to figure out a way to graduate from the UIC Business School in Chicago. And I'm very proud of that. But as I look back and reflected in my 30s and 40s, I actually went to work for a family business, my grandmother, because no one ever told me I had value coming out of the business school to maybe go get a real job. So I always acted as an entrepreneur. Very few people would ever hire me. So I always found my own way, whether it was caddying or washing windows or sealing driveways or painting houses or working at the racket club doing something. I always had to find my own way and I always had to persevere. And so here I am today. I run a successful financial service firm. I've raised over $5 million in a charity that I founded. I'm an auctioneer for nonprofits. I have websites around speaking, auctioneering, giving back. And here I am now doing podcasts because I really love the idea that I could share a story that will resonate with other people or even younger people so that they could find their way for their future growth and their future well-being and their families.
Thank you for sharing that. It's great that you're giving back in these different ways and being able to help others.
Well, Anthony, everyone has a history and the histories don't stop. And as I do podcasts and listen to people, there's people out there that were stabbed, they were in whorehouses, they were beaten, they have 10 siblings, they have 4 dads or 4 stepdads. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. A lot, my mom was an alcoholic. She used to hide it, but it was a violent household. It was weird. It was destructive. So, every 2 years we moved. So I wouldn't change anything about my past to get where I am now. But I share this because everyone has a past. And what I find is a lot of people can't get out of their past to focus on their future them.
Yeah, a lot of people just holding on to the past, right? Instead of letting it go. And as Dr. Gabor Mate says, the situations were traumatic, but holding on to it is the trauma that you're creating for yourself and the suffering.
And it's necessary to talk it out, whether you do it with therapy or do it with a coach, but we have to get it out of our internal system
Mm,
so that we could be a better self. And as negative people or abusive people come into our lives or are jealous or whatever they might be, we need to be able to have tools to be able to remove them from our mind so that we can stay strong and focused on the things we care about. Because you and I are on a mission to do really great things, and we can't do that with negative stuff hanging over us.
yeah, absolutely. How did that early label of special education affect how you saw yourself and your potential?
Well, I lived in a household where my brother accelerated in school and did really well. And I had a sister who was just a regular student at the school, but my brother excelled. At about 12 or 13, my dad would get mad at me and say, "What are you going to do with your life? What are you doing? Where are you going? How do you see yourself?" And I struggled with having an answer. So my simple answer was to just go work in the family business, the accounting practice. But, when I was there, I became more than just a bookkeeper and someone that was relationship building. I just had more inside of me and more that I could do. So at 31, I left the accounting practice. My grandmother was 99. She worked till she was 99. And I started a flea market in bingo hall. It was 50,000 square feet, 400 or 500 seat bingo hall at the time, 50,000 square feet, and I failed miserably. The guy that I was my partner, we hired someone to clean the air conditioners, and the guy stole all the copper. I didn't even know what copper was to steal at the time, right?
Mm,
So when I fell at that, I just look at everything as life lessons. And I always found a way to stay positive because there was always something on the other side of negative. And so when I failed, I went to the Ronald McDonald golf outing and saw a bunch of celebrities, and I just manifested a golf outing. And I had a networking group and I made them the volunteers. And the following year I had a golf outing and we net like 20 grand.
mm,
And after that, people showed up in my life and said, "I want to be part of this bigger experience." And then we net 100 grand, and then we net 200 grand. And we did that for 20 years. We had two golf courses. We sold them out. It was phenomenal for the years that we had it. So everything for me is a stepping stone and a life lesson. Even taking tests to be in this financial securities business, I learned that I take every test twice.
mm.
I studied for a year to pass the Series 7 exam. And by the time I got to the end of the book, I forgot what was in the beginning of the book. I learned how to learn, but
Mm,
I didn't learn at an early age. I learned that when it was important, we could really dig in and make the things happen that we want to make happen. And
mm.
then I found success show up and show up and show up to the point where today there's really nothing in my mindset that I can't come up with and manifest and do and create to become bigger and more successful. But successful to me is abundance, which is personal, professional, and financial. So I try to be abundant in all areas of my life, not just financial, not financial by any means.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you said before about the negative and the positive, like I like to use the analogy of a battery. A battery has a positive charge and a negative charge. It doesn't mean that the negative is a bad part of the battery. It's just that they're just opposites of each other. And so, no matter what's happening in your life, if you're going through a negative situation, there's always a positive side to it as well. What did that shift from feeling behind to feeling like you had a unique advantage look like for you?
God, that's a great question. I don't know that anyone's asked, and I don't know for sure when that happened. So when I started the family bookkeeping business, I had a grandpa where they didn't tell the lady that I was starting, their main employee. She came back from a trip, I think it was actually to Australia, came back, showed up in the office, got mad at me within the first couple hours, and her and I had a little spat, and he fired me.
Mm,
I get in the car, I'm driving home. I'm like, "Hey, Dad, I just got fired by Grandpa." And he said, "Well, you show up the next day." By the time I was done with the experience of the bookkeeping firm, she was my biggest advocate to be bigger and fly, go somewhere bigger than where I was because she saw that I had it in me and that I was actually there as an advocate and a partner, not someone to take her job or to demean her or to make her lower than what she was. And so as I grow and as you mature, which I think we do every 5 years, if you look at your timeline, we grow and mature every 5 years. I just matured to the point where I could see myself having my own company. I started at about 32 years old. And I had a vision for what it could be, which is really what it is today, which is a nice size financial advisory company with employees and partners and people in the business who help me raise money and do good and give back. But my business plan from the year of 2000 to where it is today is the same business plan. It's wake up every day, interact with people, share with them the positives, share with them the truth and the negatives. If they decide to hire me, I'm going to take care of them like their family. And that's what people have done. They've been with me for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. And together we
Yeah,
grow and together they retire and together we are going through life, as a positive spirit. But
yeah,
when did I feel like the confidence? In my mid 30s, I saw that this was working. I saw that I was going to be able to make a nice living and that my bills were going to get paid off and I'd be able to put money away. So overall, mid 30s, and we could talk about it down the road a little bit, but I did mastermind groups, which were huge confidence builders. I did executive groups. I did entrepreneur groups. I did networking groups. All these things build because if you're the leader and you're providing for other people to participate in your life, you get a lot of kudos and a lot of thank yous from the people you're doing that.
yeah, 100% agree with you there. Now, I love this next question because I'm a group manager of a networking group, and the way you frame it is different because you talk about the power of peopleizing rather than traditional networking, right? What does it actually look like, and how to build a network with compassion?
Well, in 2000, 2001, the trajectory of my business life is you need a network to get some business. So I was with a co-author, a ghostwriter, a friend of mine who said, people ties. And I go, well, what is that? And she says, well, you're the most thoughtful, caring, sharing person I know. And with ego or attitude, we could mentor. And so I just thought that I became addicted to being thoughtful and caring. And the bottom line is if you're in a networking group, everyone's there for business. So make sure that you work with each other and make sure you connect and make sure you help each other. There's nothing worse than someone in a group that you're part of for all these years where they hire a different lawyer or they hire a different advisor or a different digital marketing company, right? There's nothing worse than that. And they don't even ask you what you do. And so the bottom line is I make the effort to give everybody business and to help everyone make their lives more enhanced and stronger and in return, as Zig Ziglar said, the more you help other people, the more you help yourself, the better you become. So I'm just all out there as an addict wanting to help other people. And my superpower is referring and connecting and giving to others. And I learned that from my dad. He was an attorney, he was an entrepreneur. And my dad was the kind of guy he'd pick up the phone and just tell you, Anthony, do business.
Mm,
As a matter of fact, instead of waiting for hole number 9 to tell someone what he did for a living, he would walk up to the first tee and say, we both want to know what each other do. So here's what I do. By the ninth hole, maybe we like each other enough that we can work together.
I love that. I love that so much. What you shared there. So many people go to networking groups and they don't. It's more of a competition than actually working together. And I'm creating this space, this community, because I want to help others and impact the world. And in turn, I know that that will happen for me as well. Why do you think so many people are getting stuck in that traditional mindset when they meet someone new?
Well, I think that people are, I would use the word desperate, or have anxiety to close business sooner than we're allowed to close it.
Mm,
So if selling is a numbers game, I do believe it's about relationship building first. And I think that trust is extremely important. And the way you build trust is by having a dialogue of you share, I'll share, you share, I share, and being vulnerable to the fact that you want to be human. And I think a lot of people are afraid to be human. Everybody wants to sell. And many people are selling something that they don't have a really firm belief that they're going to even be with the company in a year. So I have to hurry up and sell today. When you
yeah,
own your own company and you're content with how you're living, I think you could give yourself more time to be able to achieve the success you want. And instead of selling, be a helper and be a giver. I
yeah.
do think that the math works if you do that. And the most successful people I know are constant givers of data, information. They're thought leaders. They're not someone out there trying to sell you their service.
Yeah, 100%. I've got a little story to tell you. So a few years ago, I went to this group. It was called the AFQY, which is a few quiet yarns over a beer. And it was a networking space. And the rule was in the first three questions, you're not allowed to talk about your work. You're not allowed to sell. And there was something else, I can't remember. And I remember going and talking to this guy, and he started talking about motorbikes. And I'm not into motorbikes. But I stood there for like 30 minutes listening to him tell his story about motorbikes. And he says, "What do you ride?" I said, "I don't." He said, "What? You've just stood here for 30 minutes listening to me ramble on about motorbikes." I said, "Yeah, because I'm building a connection here,
Yeah.
you know?" And to this day, we're still connected. Yeah,
Right. And last night I was at a restaurant where the server was lovely and she started to tell me that she's a canoe racer and that, she's a lady and she won the race and she's been doing it for years. And I could have sat there for hours and just listened to her talk because the passion around the canoe, the different weights in the canoe, the way that the water is, it was just something so exciting about her delivery that we made that connection on the way out. She started telling me about her mom and how she doesn't like to go out, and she started sharing me like personal things that like it's because I listened and I engaged for a couple of minutes about her and her canoe story, which is
yeah,
similar to what you did. And if you're podcasting with me, people are fascinating. We just have to actually take the time to listen to them.
yeah, 100%. When I interviewed Alex Sanfilippo from Podmatch a few episodes ago, the conversation we had, he said, "Anthony, when you're doing a podcast, you're actually building a relationship with your guest, right?" And I went, "Yeah, absolutely." And the relationship I'm building with you is not just a one-off podcast interview. And I've explained this before in our discovery call, was that this is an opportunity to work together in the future and for you to come on other mediums as well. And there's so much value that listeners are going to get from this episode, because not only will they be able to listen to this episode, they'll be able to read an article and they'll be able to download a practical guide that actually helps them with all of the gems that we're talking about here in this episode. None of that is me selling, but it's really helping create an impact in this world. Because when I started this podcast, it was like, how can I learn from the best people in the world and how can I be like them? And they say net worth is some of the five people that you hang around with. So I've got more than five people, but for me, it's like, this is a relationship I'm giving, and I know that one day it will come back, and when it's
And if
time.
it's not coming back now, I'm surprised because your content, your data, and your as a thought leader in this space is phenomenal. And
Yeah,
and I just wish nothing but the best for you as you're out there building your business. But the other thing is that there does come a time where we're allowed to ask for business.
yeah,
And so I've gotten, again, I'm older than you, but I've gotten much better at asking for business and saying or asking questions like, what would it look like for us to be able to work together?
mm, mm,
Right? Or if you have an advisor, are you happy? And you would say, yes. I would say, would you like to be happier? Someone else would say, hey, is your fee negotiable? And I would say, I'm always happy to charge more.
yeah,
And so there's a little bit of humor in that. But at the end of the day, if we don't ask, people don't really know that we want their business and that we care. And
yeah,
so there's many times that I have to share with people that it would be a service. It would be a pleasure to work with them so that I could help them do things that other people just don't even think about or they don't care about,
yeah,
right?
100%.
Because it is a
Yeah,
partnership.
yeah, absolutely. And I'd love to explore this partnership with you, Chad. My next question is around, what is a simple way someone can start peopleizing instead of just networking today?
Well, peopletizing, you just start with the idea that it's about being thoughtful. How many people do you know that when you walk in a room, they're just not thoughtful? I'm working out on a treadmill the other day, and the guy walks up next to me, gets on the treadmill, and he's got the speakerphone on, and he's talking to his daughter, and it's all scrambled noise. And I'm trying to concentrate and run and be in my workout. And when I asked him, like, if he could just put in earphones or something, and he says, well, he went all nuts on me while his daughter's on the phone. I'm like, we don't have anything in society just to be thoughtful and to be able to be respectful of other people's space,
Mm,
caring,
yeah,
again, not caring about me, but caring about you. There's a lot of people out there where they just don't care about somebody else. What if we genuinely cared about somebody else? What if you had the ability to mentor somebody, but you didn't even have to charge, but you just mentored them and said, here's three things that could help you? I had a call earlier today, where I just mentored a lady. Her accent is an accent, and she's afraid a little bit of her shadow. And I just said, "These are the reasons why you don't have to be that way." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, like I'm going to practice that. Can I reach back out to you in 10 or 14 days and just tell you how I'm doing?" Absolutely, because I'll mentor you, because no one else is waiting in line to do that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
peopletizing. It's the experience of caring authentically about other people to help them get where they want to go, and then you will get where you want to go.
Chad, when you're working with successful business owners on their personal and financial goals, where do you usually see the biggest disconnect?
People, I believe, when it comes to the connection or disconnect, is people don't look out far enough into the future. So I'll give you an example. How much money do you need to live? Plus you have Social Security or you have retirement funds, depends what country you're in. If you live on 80,000 a year, you have 50,000 of income from Social Security, you have a $30,000 difference, and you're worth $1 million or $2 million, you're probably never going to go through all your money. I share with people a brain hack, which is, if you have kids, start investing some of that money for your kids' future. So you don't have to be in fixed income. You don't have to be nervous about the markets going up or down. I think a big disconnect that people have is they don't future think about their money. They think about it today, and they think about current politics today, instead of realizing that companies operate based upon earnings, and companies and stocks go up and down based upon earnings, not necessarily at all about what the government's doing. So, there's just some simple things that people need to start shifting from when it comes to their future. And the other thing is, politics, people I think spend too much time looking at the social media and politics and getting all the negative in their head, which brainwashes them to negative thinking. Instead of saying and being around the positives, getting outside, going for walks, doing sports activities, and focusing on their friends rather than the negatives that are showing up in their life.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of that at the moment, like with the government not necessarily spending the taxpayer money on the right things, or councils, and then the rates are going up for house owners and so on. I mean, here we're getting an increase of 7.9% rates increase, and then the mayor turns around and says it's a zero increase because it's been coming for a while, and and the media person said no, it's not zero because people are going to be paying that,
Right.
for the people actually running businesses and so on. It's actually an expense. I wonder how there could be some harmony between the government and the local governments and
Well,
the
I,
people.
I ran for mayor of my community. And I think there's ways to communicate, which is the truth, which is, we've been holding off inflation and we've been holding off price increases for quite a while. And now we don't have a choice because we're getting behind the eight ball. But in many cases, they discount what they do to better what they look like, right? As sound bites on which side. At the end of the
Mm,
day, we're captive to what they decide. And if we want to make a change, then get involved in politics. But if we don't, you got to pay the piper and work harder and just hope for the best, right? Or plan for the best, knowing that things go up in this world, right? Things
mm,
don't stay stagnant.
yeah. What is one thing that usually people overlook that ends up being the biggest risk?
The biggest risk is, for me, as I work with people, is to not be invested in the market and to be afraid of their future, right? Or, it could come down to anything. It could come down to your risk of your family. It could come down to so many different things. But I believe, and I have the Abundant Life Roadmap experience to take people through. But when you understand what your values are, when you understand what your goals are that require time and money, and then you create a plan to help you achieve those, your risks go way down. I think that when many people go through life, they go through life without a rudder and they don't know where they want to go. So if you walk down the street and you see someone like with a really big gut, it's like you're eating maybe too many carbs, right? There's systems and tools to be able to reduce the amount of your belly fat, right? Like if you're not taking care of yourself and going to work out and going to walk and do what you need to do to be healthy, your heart's going to get calcium. You're going to start needing health issues. So there's risks in everything we do. What I try to do is with my roadmap is to help people create a plan around the different pieces of their life to help them get to the finish line in a way that they could be happy and feel fulfilled about, and not just get there by accident. Because if you get there by accident and you're there, you don't even know you're there.
Mm, yeah,
Then you're not feeling fulfilled around that either. You're just there.
yeah, yeah.
And so what we've learned is that the journey is the fun in life. So, fun story. I was just with a gentleman. He's worth a couple $100 million. And, we were talking because he has a watch collection. And I said, "Oh, what's the next watch you're going to get?" He goes, "Here's what I do. I want a watch and I enjoy wanting the watch more than when I get the watch." Wow. So you're a guy that just wants. And he goes, "I found that I'm happier and more fulfilled wanting, looking, and researching than I am in actually getting it. So I have enough watches. If I'm going to get a new watch, I've learned that I'm going to sell one of my older watches and that I don't need a drawer full of stuff."
Yeah,
And in some cases, they go up in value. So, being a collector is different than just having a watch that you wear for every day.
yeah.
This is his everyday life. He was sharing his wisdom about wanting versus actually getting. And I
It's
thought
the
that was a great
experience.
perspective.
It's the experience that he's interested in, right? Not necessarily having the physical
Exactly. Because
watch.
we've
Yeah,
learned that I have, and it's
yeah,
nice to have, but it's also nice to want, and it's also nice to want and never get it. It's okay.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. And sometimes, I believe that the universe brings it to you at the right time when you're
100,
ready for it. When you're ready
100,
for it,
yes.
yeah. When you're being that person that already has it, and so on. How do you help people reconcile the gap between their bank balance and their personal sense of peace?
Well, it goes back to what their values are. So there's a lot of people that don't look at the bank balance because their values are about living abundant, healthy, consistent life and being content where they're at. They also know that they have a budget. So if it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 10,000, 100,000 a month, which some people have, it's just living within the means that you have while putting money away for your future. So in everything that we do, it's about having a plan to be able to get there. The reason people want to sell so fast is because they don't have a plan for their future and they're not looking at future money and what investing does. If you invest and compound it, call it 10%, money doubles every 7 years. 10,000 becomes 20, becomes 40, becomes 80, becomes $160,000. But most people just look at the 10,000 and never look
Mm,
at the compounding effect.
no, no.
What I do is I just try to help people in pictures and in conversation know that if they do this, then they get that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great. For someone listening who feels stuck in their current situation, what is the first page of redemption roadmap to rewriting their personal story?
So we all have stories. When things get bad enough, we create change.
Hmm.
When we want something bad enough, we will make it happen. So, as an example, people are married, and if they're in a marriage that's not working for them, they have to figure out how to get out. 50% of the population figures out how to get out of a marriage because it got bad enough. Which makes me crazy because if you get into a marriage with someone you love, what happened in those years that shifted so badly that now you can't be with the person?
Mm,
Now I say it makes me crazy. I'm also in a second marriage. But you still think about it, like the way that my first wife interacted with me, I didn't feel like I changed. Why with all the anger and all the stuff around the relationship? So I think that we just need to stay the course, stay consistent, and be able to stay focused on what we want, and then see the future, and then figure out the steps to be able to get to the future of what you want. Then find people like in my case, I had 4 or 5 or 6 people that helped me with my first, anything that I've ever done. I would say my first marriage, but anything that I've done, I rely on other people to help me move the needle forward. So you don't have to do it alone. But if you have a thought out plan, there's nothing you can't execute to get where you want to go. That's how I believe.
yeah, that's good advice. What is a practical step that for a person who feels their current story is already written in stone?
Well, number one, life is as short as life is long.
Mm,
And so the other thing too is like people think, if I have a company, I can't have two companies. If I have one job, I can't have two jobs. Richard Branson had his name on 750 companies at one time. I know people that are invested in 100 different companies. And so I don't love the idea that someone thinks that where they're at is etched in stone. There's always somewhere else we could be, even if it's that we create it, right? So what is it that you want to create? What are you interested in? What can you do? There's money in everything that we could do or think about if we could stay consistent while doing it, right? Just look around at whether it's technology or whether it's social media or whether it's retail or whether it's online selling. There's always something that we could do to be able to move our life forward and not feel like we're trapped. And if someone feels like they're trapped, reach out to a mentor or a guide or a coach and ask them how to move that forward. It's not fair that you feel trapped, but if you don't get help and move with the help that you're given, then that's going to be on you.
Yeah, 100%. Chad, how does shifting the narrative change the way we handle business decisions?
Well, when you change the narrative or you change the story, I've shared with you that my story is pretty similar from the day I started, let's say Co Financial Group, where it's always selling from the heart. And I just reread a book from gentleman named Harry Pappas, who wrote the first book that I read, Selling from the Heart, Speaking from the Heart, Living from the Heart. Other people's narratives are, I just want to sell, or I don't want any of the fluffiness, or let me show you the charts and the graphs, or let me go into the weeds. I don't go into the weeds. I want to know who you are, what you care about, and that's what we talk about. I care about where you're at, where you want to go, how you want to get there. But if the narrative is not one that's working for you, then we need to shift the narrative. And I have a lady right now. She became a new client. She has a couple kids. She's the mom. She sees the kids as being spoiled and difficult and not focused. And I'm coaching and mentoring the daughters now because they're a client, they're clients, and they're lovely. They're young and they need to be able to know where they're going, and they need to learn and know where they're going with a different perspective, because right now the only perspective they get is their mom, and the mom loves them so much that she's continually giving them different stories because she's confused about the being a mom. So at the end of the day, each daughter meeting separately has their own goals and visions for where they want to go.
Yeah.
The mom has hers, being the mom overseeing the kids.
Hmm.
And then we all have to learn how to interact and rewrite who we want to be and who we want and how we want to be seen.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So narratives are important, but it's also getting other people's perspectives at the right time. And I think that other people's perspectives show up when they're supposed to show up.
That's really well said. I like what you said, explained there. Yeah, because often we don't like, especially in a situation where you've got siblings, you're all doing, the whole family thing together, and not having that special time between you and your parent, and also having the mentorship from someone as well as you get older is so important. Chad, I'm fascinated about the work that you do as a master auctioneer. What has standing on that stage taught you about high stakes communication and trust?
That's a really great question. When I have the charity Special Kids Network for the 20 years and I raise the money and I give it away, I got involved with nonprofits that wanted an auctioneer. And so my very first one was for the University of Chicago, and standing in front of 500 people, raising money and doing the chant. And the first time I did it, of course, I wasn't very good. And, I have 1,000 over here, now two, would have been three. And I got up to, nine, 10, $15,000 on items, and they said I was really good and they loved that. So I started doing auctions every year, up to 20 a year. And at some point, I became very enthusiastic and passionate about the process. And then I went to school to become a benefit auctioneer specialist. And I really dug into the science around raising money and not being afraid to ask. And that's what I've done. I used to get nervous to get up in front of an audience. Now I get nervous in the positive way, that nervousness is positive energy. But as soon as I'm out there and someone raises their paddle up and says, "Hey, I'm in," then I'm 100% in. And it's just invigorating. I always wanted to be a singer, a rock star, but I never actually learned any songs. My mind doesn't work that way. But I
Mm,
could chant, because I could go from 1,000 to 3,000 to 5, back to 3 to 2 to 4 to 6. There's no script. It's actually what your gut feels.
mm,
And I've been very fortunate to raise a lot of money and to be told that I'm pretty good at it. And at the end of the day, I'm raising money for charity and they're picking me, and I give it my all. My wife actually works with me. When you deal with the science of raising money, the comedy is important, but also a change of tonality. So when my wife is up there helping read the different items, it's a different tonality. People hear it different. And I feel
yeah,
like they respond to me in a positive way when I'm up there doing my chant, where it's not 45 minutes of one person talking. It's energy from two people. And we work really well together, and we've been able to raise a lot of money doing that.
yeah. I followed some of your Instagram and TikTok videos and so on, and it's
Yeah. One of
quite
them,
fun to
one of
watch.
them is the band Train. We're on a cruise with them. It's a band, and they had a wine night, and they were going to give money away to a charity. And they didn't ever really have planned to do it. So I got up and I said, "Hey, Pat, I'm an auctioneer." And he says, "You're a what?" I said, "I could raise money. Let me get up there and auction off a couple bottles." And I started at $1,000, and I think I got up to $8,000, and we sold 4 bottles of wine for $16,000. And it was just really fun. It was energetic. Everybody loved it. The band put the video that they got on their Instagram, and it was just fun for everybody. And then there was banter about it. So for me, it's about creating the banter, having the fun, giving back, and really just knowing that I'm going to be okay, just waking up every day and being me.
How has that skill of reading the room translated into your work with Co Financial Group?
Talk about reading the room. I have a video where I was selling Cubs tickets before the World Series, and I started at $1,000. And everybody was about, call it 15 yards from me with the light shining in my eyes. And so I had 1,000 over here, now 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000, and the room got stale. And so Tom Ricketts took the mic and he said, "Hey, anybody that buys this package can write their name on the ivy." And people laughed, and that was nice. And he gave me back the mic, and I went from $7,000 to $10,000, and it went stale again. I'm reading the room, I'm seeing. And at $10,000, he said, "You could trade any 5 players." And everyone laughed again. He made a joke, which comedy works. It does. I just, for some reason. So I'm dealing with 2 people. I got a 10,000 over here, now 11, 12, 13,000. I see the guy go like this. I'm at 13,000 for 4 tickets. You could buy entire rows for 13,000. And then I looked at Tom and I said, "Hey, we got 2 sets, right?" And he thinking about it. And he said, "Yeah, we have 2 sets." So I sold 2 sets of tickets. They raised $26,000. But when you talk about reading people, it's seeing the energy, it's seeing the pacing, it's seeing their eyes, it's seeing how they're turning to their partner to see if they could spend that much money and what they could do. And it's the same thing in my life. It's how enthusiastic are you? Are you paying attention? Are you on your phone? Are you taking notes? Are you asking questions? Are you engaged? Before you leave, are you asking for the next meeting?
Mm,
Are you following through? I have a coach because he says that a lot of people don't follow through. It's like, what is your commitment level to actually working with me? It's like going to the gym. Do you go to the gym and actually use the machines, or do you just think about it? No,
mm,
I go and I use the machines. Well, when you commit to hiring me, are you actually going to follow through and do the paperwork, or are you going to start to procrastinate? So at the end of the day, I think that a lot of people get yes to business. I think there's a percentage of people that don't close because they're not reading the person and they haven't really answered all their questions.
yeah, 100%. And what does that intensity teach you about the way people make big decisions?
I think people make big decisions in different ways, right? First of all, you could get caught up in the moment, the
Mm,
auction space,
mhm,
you know. But then on the other side of it, there's some people out there that are just methodical, where their processes and the way their mind works is just slower. I also like the idea that a lot of people go to their spouse or partner to get their final permission. So I have a tendency to say yes to everything. I've now started to defer to my wife because it slows me down from making a decision that I might later have buyer's remorse or not have really needed.
yeah.
But energy sells, positivity sells, smiles sells, looking in someone's eyes sells.
Yep, yep, exactly. It's interesting. I was talking to a coach who does smile therapy. It's like smile coaching, and I've never heard of that, but it's like, yeah, when you smile, it lights up the room. People interact with you, and so when you're up there and you're smiling, and your energy is transferring onto people.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Now you've developed the Abundant Life Roadmap to help people find clarity. So, what do your own daily priorities look like to stay aligned with that vision?
So I understand what my values are and I understand what I care about. It's family, it's work, it's content, it's being able to be kind to other people or even just to be kind to the universe. My goals are to be able to continue to grow and help people. And I aspire to one day be able to retire and live a comfortable retirement. But when I understand that's about me, as an example, today we have to take care of ourselves. So I have a friend right now, he's going through some trauma with the family. He canceled a dinner plan. So instead of me getting upset or caring, I have alternatives. I'm going to go to the gym and have a second workout today. I'm
Mm,
eating really well and not overeat because I'm actually able to manage that because I'm not going to a restaurant tonight, right? So everything in life is about having a plan and alternatives or a backup to your backup because people are people and things change. And it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It just means that life sometimes gets delayed. But when life gets delayed, make sure you have stuff to do to fill the time and fill the gap for yourself, right?
Yeah,
So, people get upset, people get indifferent because they don't understand what's important, and then they get caught off guard. And in my world, it's about taking a breath, understanding where the other person is coming from, and then being adaptable.
yeah, I totally agree with you there. So many people, and I've been like this in the past, where you get upset about someone not turning up, or you make a plan and doesn't work out. But nowadays, I'm just like, I know who I am, I know my identity, I know my values, and if someone says, "Oh, I can't make it," I'll go, "Okay, that's cool. I'll do something else." I've got
100%.
plenty. I've always got stuff to do, so it's like, okay,
I mean, I'm dealing with a professional right now, and I just rescheduled an interview today with him. But a week ago, he just didn't show up. He didn't text. He didn't acknowledge. And I didn't even ask him what happened or what was wrong. If he wants to share, he could share. But there was obviously something that happened, or it wasn't on his calendar, or he made a mistake, or he was embarrassed. But I just went on with my day. I had this on in the background while he either showed up or didn't. But it's okay. I have zero anything around it
yeah,
because it happens.
yeah,
And I think about it like it happened to him, but what if it happened to me? I mean, I don't want to be the person that messes up someone's day or doesn't show up after a commitment. So
yeah,
I just go through life doing the best I can. I know, Anthony, you for sure do that. We just want to
absolutely.
be the best we could be.
Think yesterday and the day before, I had two people maybe that didn't turn up, one to interview and discovery calls. And what I've done is I've built into my guest management platform system that I've built a button that says "Did not join," and it sends them an email and says, "Hey, look, I was on the call. I didn't see you, but life happens, you know. When you're ready, just book in another call, and you know." So it's nice and relaxed. It's not like
100%. I love that
exactly.
about
So
you
kindness is
because
important.
I have some people they're trying to get on desperately, but they're going to Zoom instead of Restream or any number of things
Yeah,
could show up. And so I love the idea that you have the right perspective around that. Now, by the way, if they cancel a second or a third time or it becomes a real issue, it becomes a real issue. But for the most part, people are just doing their best to go through life. And I'm all about accommodating that.
100%. How do you keep the focus when the day starts to get messy?
Amazing. Big days get messy. Call it once a month, twice a month. I don't have a lot of messes. My world that I'm in is pretty professional, pretty clean. And I guess messy might be that the markets are becoming tumultuous. But I've learned how to breathe. I've learned how to relax. I've learned how to look in the background. I have the fish tanks. I've
Mm,
learned
love that.
how to just take it down a level and let time go by. Sometimes you just walk out the door and go for a walk. Sometimes you get in your car and you go for a drive, but you can't take anything too seriously. You need to just be able to know that tomorrow's another day and that today you just do the best you can.
Yeah. What part of your routine is the most connected to your sense of abundance?
I look to my wife all the time. I'm like, "Hey, do you want to go on another trip? What else do you want to do?" I like to play and I like to be there for others and I like to participate. So in the abundant world that I live in, financial is a given. I make a nice living. I put money away. I have my different life set up when it comes to the financial. When it comes to personal, I love spending time with family. I love the interaction. I love the dinners. I love just the game playing and the doing things and the golf or whatever I do with the family. And on the professional side and the financial side and the professional side, it's about doing business. It's about showing up. It's about asking for business. It's about not only doing the calls and asking for business, it's about doing the podcasts. It's about doing the pre-calls. It's about waking up every day knowing that you did the best you could and then going to bed at night knowing that tomorrow's another full day. What I've learned is that abundance comes from using your calendar to make sure you have time for the things that you love and you care about, like the sports, like the reading, like the TV, like the things like gardening. It cannot be that you just work, work, work and think that anything is
Yeah.
abundant. You have to be able to calendar and focus on the things you care about.
You got to have harmony in your life around the different, like getting out into nature as well.
Yeah,
And
100%. Really
yeah,
well
yeah,
said.
yeah, yeah. I think, we can learn a lot from nature, and that nature's been existing for millions of years. And it's like, you can learn a lot about how nature, how it works together with, plants
So
and animals. insects and so on. So we can take a lot from that. Chad, there'll be people watching this episode or listening to it, and they'll be resonating with what you've shared, and they'd love to connect with you. How can they do so with you? And how can they get your books as well?
So you could go on my LinkedIn, Chad Coe, Instagram or Facebook, Chad Coe. If you email me or DM me or message me, I'm happy to send you a link for a free download. Otherwise, the books are at Amazon.com. And of the 4 books, we have a book on networking, a book on confidence. We have a nice parable, which is about taking the foot off the brake, where Sam and Max, interact with each other. And Max is the great, profound, lovely auctioneer helping Sam find his way. And in the final book, Your Financial Dream House, it's a metaphor for just figuring out where you want to be and what you want to do for your life. And it's some strategies on how to get there. And so, again, happy to communicate with any of you when it comes to this. I'm a coach, I'm a mentor, I'm a guide, I'm somebody that cares. I love connecting with people. So just feel free to reach out and I'll be there for you.
100%. We'll put those links into the show notes, and you'll get a dedicated page for your episode, which will have all your books and everything, the links, everything on there. So people can go to one place and they can find everything about you on that one place.
Fantastic. And again, Anthony, it's a pleasure being with you. We actually had a couple of hiccups. The internet goes in and out, but we persevered. We got through it. It was great interacting with you. And again, thank you for having me today.
And it's everything we've been talking about, right? Like when things don't go right, you just take a chill pill and just carry on.
Just carry on. I love that.
Carry on. I've got 6 quick fire questions. You can answer these in a short sentence or a single word. And the first question, and you actually answered the first question earlier in the episode, which is around how do you define success, and has that definition evolved for you over time?
I think success is to show up every day and just do the best you can with anything that you want to do and anything that you could conceive. If you could believe it, you can make it happen. If you see it, you could make it happen. It's like abracadabra, as if you could see it, it can happen. The universe actually conspires to make stuff happen. The key is that you just have to know that you want it.
100%. Who's been your greatest inspiration and why?
Greatest inspiration is, watching other people live their best life and then me saying, hey, I want to do that. My son just ran his first half marathon, lost 40 pounds running, and it inspires me to want to go to the gym and be healthier, right? I have this guy, Jason Dunn in Australia. He's running 100-mile ultra marathons. It's inspiring. I'm not doing it, but I listened to his book, listened to his mindset and said, I love that. So for anyone that wakes up and wants to push themselves, that motivates me.
Yeah. Jason Dunn was actually a guest on this podcast a while ago, and he'll be coming back for the second round to promote his second book.
When he comes out with his new book, I'm looking forward to having him as well.
Yeah.
It's fascinating young chap.
Yeah, absolutely. I had an amazing chat with him. So that was last year. So yeah, absolutely. What is something that you believe that others may disagree with?
I believe that the universe has negative pressures that push down on us, which is the idea around everyone's mental health issues and then being on medication around that. And I believe that. Some people say no, that the universe is not negative and doesn't push down and doesn't encourage that. I think we're wired to be a negative soul, and for a lot of people, not everyone. I'm not a negative soul, but I think a lot of people are. And I think that people might disagree with how my approach is or how I feel about that. But because I think it's negative, my goal is to inspire and help people stay positive and to overcome negatives and to be there and be supportive of people because of that.
Yeah. And so the universe is always saying yes to everything that we're thinking, we're asking for. And so if we're thinking negative, then that's what we're going to manifest.
So I interviewed Scott Schmear and I said, why do you do the gratitude every morning on Instagram? And he said, because I'm training my brain to think positive thoughts to start the day. And then that's what my brain will believe. But if we don't start the day with positive interaction and positive thoughts, then the brain doesn't know to do that. And everything between the ears is what we're trying to train.
Yeah, absolutely. If you could go back and give young Chad some advice, what would it be?
I would give young Chad advice that old Chad is going to be okay, and that you just have to continue and stay the course, and that the earlier you learn how to learn, the easier it will be for you as you grow up. And the last piece was, my weakness is test taking. So early Chad, I wish, said, take every test twice because you will pass the second time. That would have been very helpful to know and take a lot of stress off for me. Taking tests was very stressful for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. What is one message that you'd like to share with the world?
Stay positive, connect to Chad Coe, have fun, and connect to Chad Coe.
Yeah. And the last question for you is, what does it mean to you to be a champion and have a champion mindset?
Well, I love the fact that that's your logo, and I've looked at that, and I just love that about you. I think champions are a destiny, and it's fun to try to aspire to be a champion at anything you do, whether it's work champion, whether it's an athlete champion, whether it's anything that you choose to do to be the best you can. Call yourself a champion. I love it. It's inspiring and put a smile on your face because whatever you did, you just accomplished something, and I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's the first time someone's actually said that, and it's amazing. Thank you. Chad, thank you for joining me today. What stands out to me is that our chat is that abundance isn't something that we just stumble into. It's something that we build with intention, one relationship, one clear decision at a time. My biggest takeaway is that we all have the power to be our own architect of our financial dream house. And if we start with the right values, as you've talked about quite a bit in this episode, to everyone listening, I hope that this encourages you to look at your own roadmap today. If you can find all the links and the episode page on the Champion Mindset Collective Hub, and go and check it out. You'll be able to read about Chad, you'll be able to connect with him, you'll be able to read the article and also download that practical guide, which is going to give you some practical reflections and steps to move forward in your life. And if this episode has spoken to you or resonated with you, please subscribe and share with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're also getting value from this episode, and I'm going to take a leaf out of Chad's book, is that you've got to ask. If you really enjoyed these episodes, then please go to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast hub and donate. It could be $10, it could be $20, whatever you like. Or if you're actually interested in sponsoring this episode, I'd love for you to connect with me and have a chat. Thank you for listening to the Champion Mindset Collective. Lastly, I just want to say you are loved, you're worthy, champion your life, champion your greatness, and have an amazing day.